To Sherwin Bryce-Pease in New York. Sherwin, good morning. What is the mood like among New Yorkers at this time?
Well, a little down in the dumps, if anything. Also, I guess it depends beyond which part of New York you're talking from. You know, if you live in the northern parts of Manhattan, you're very relieved. If you live downtown, you're sulking this morning. What I can tell you is, that 24 hours since we last spoke, I think everyone agrees that Sandy, or whatever you'd like to call it, whether it's a hurricane or a tropical storm, was worse than expected. 18 people, as you heard in that piece, died from this weather event just in New York alone. 48 people across this region, and if you compare that, to the less developed Caribbean, where 66 people died, 48 becomes a much more significant number. Tonight, millions remain without power across the region, many hundreds of thousands without power in Manhattan alone, and a large chunk of the lower part of the island, from 42nd Street down, bad for driving, not great for living. Many people downtown have had their buildings shut down, elevator pits are flooded, basements flooded. People that were evacuated on Sunday have been told not to come home.
Now, how long before the transportation networks are up and running?
It's difficult to say. Some people say, as many as 10 days. If not as a minimum. I mean, the pictures are quite astounding if you look at some of the flooded subways. This is a system that carries some 5 million people, Boyo, and people are not going to be able to get to and from work. So this affects businesses reopening. It affects the economy of New York. What we have seen, though, some good news is that the buses have started running on a staggered basis. They started running at 5 p.m. this evening. But the subway system is really what gets people from one borough to the next, whether it's from Queens to Manhattan, from Staten Island to Manhattan to the city where most people work. So that's going to take a few days, and we don't have a definitive number on that at this point.
Now, any estimates of the damage so far? What kind of numbers are they talking about at this time?
Before Sandy struck, they said something, in the region of $3 billion. That's been moved into a more substantial number of the tens of billions. The devastation is quite astounding. And you had emergency orders of disaster declarations already signed by President Obama for parts of New York and parts of New Jersey. He's going to come down here later today to tour the region with the mayor of New York, the governor of New York, the governor of New Jersey. And that's really an indication of the extent of this crisis. They've suspended their electoral campaigns to focus on Sandy, tens of billions, and who knows, that number will continue to go up.
All right. Sherwin Bryce-Pease is SABC News reporter. He's in New York. Thank you for your time this morning.